When planted, no seed is guaranteed to flourish and grow. This is the story of one seed that did. This is the story of the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights.
When we started the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, nobody thought we were going to make it. First of all, we had no money. It was just three of us, me, Mike McClune, and Diana Frappier. We were using the spare offices in the back of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. My office was this little closet, literally a closet we had converted. We had one little project. It was called Bay Area Police Watch, a police misconduct hotline. But what we had going for us was we had this hope and we had this dream that we could somehow make a difference. And that's what we started with.
The Ella Baker Center for Human Rights opened its doors on September 1st, 1996. The organization was just a sprout in November when hearings began against a San Francisco police officer, Mark Andaya, for beating, stomping, and pepper spraying to death an unarmed black man named Aaron Williams. Despite Officer Ndaya's history of violence, the San Francisco Police Commission refused to discipline him. Community activist Tony Coleman attended an initial hearing and was shocked by what he saw.
I seen that there was only the family here. And on the other side of the room was, like a lot of off-duty officers with their union hats and whatnot. And I was just like, man, my whole thing from that point was like, man, we got to do something about making sure the community is there when people are, going through this, that they won't feel like they're by themselves.
When we started going there with Aaron Williams, on Aaron Williams' case, we would bring hundreds of people down there. We had young people, we had families who had been affected, who would go and speak before the police commission and let them know that there was community that they had to answer to.
But even with the unprecedented community support for the Aaron Williams family, the police commission refused to discipline Officer Ndaya.
I remember driving home with Van, and I had my son. My son is 19 now. He was like, what? He was young then. He was a little kid then, and we was driving home, and we was all crying in the car. All of us. Three black men crying because something happened at the police commission where it seemed like that we weren't going to get justice.
It was one of those fights that really brought this organization together. It made Tony and Diana and Mike and I much closer because we had to go through so much crap to get this officer fired.
In June 1997, 2 years after the death of Aaron Williams, the police commission had its final disciplinary hearing against Officer Mark Ndaya.
We have decided on a 4-0 vote to accept the chief's recommendation to terminate the officer.
I don't even want to get emotional now, but I was just like, man, it felt so good. It felt so good that we had did something. The system had just come down on poor people and people of color for so long. And this was one time that we was like the victors.
After we got Mark Ndaya fired, we figured sky's the limit. We decided we were going to fix the New York City Police Department. We created New York City Police Watch, which Samantha Liapes ran for us. It was a crazy time. It was a great time.
Out of the Aaron Williams campaign, we built all this momentum. People wanted to do something. They wanted to stay involved. So the young people created a group called the Third Eye Movement.
The great thing about Third Eye Movement was it was all the stuff that people thought couldn't work in politics. It was young people with, puffy jackets and baggy pants, with hip-hop music and spoken word poetry. And yet they were the most effective advocates.
In 2000, Third Eye Movement became a leading organization in the fight against Prop 21, a California ballot proposition that aimed to put 14-year-olds in adult courts and 16-year-olds in adult prisons.
We had literally hundreds and thousands of young people who were marching in the streets saying, let's stop locking up California's youth.
Young people were drawn to the campaign and stepped up and took leadership, and EBC really made space for that.
The youth-led campaign made national headlines, and 5 Bay Area counties rejected Prop 21. But the rest of the state approved the proposition.
That was heartbreaking. it was heartbreaking to lose, but the hope came through when the young people said, you know what, we want our voices to be heard anyway.
Inspired by Ella Baker and the legacy of the 1960s civil rights movement, the young leaders of the campaign staged a mass sit-in at the Hilton Hotel in San Francisco, a corporate sponsor, Prop 21.
The Hilton was fresh. We had this whole protest rally through the streets of Frisco. Then we get to the Hilton and we're like, all right, we're gonna take over the lobby. And so we just started opening the door and people just started going in and organizing sit down in the lobby.
That was a high moment. I mean, you know, from Aaron Williams up to that moment, the first hip hop sit-in. I mean, it was so beautiful. And then it just all started to fall apart. I mean, infighting and bitterness, and it wasn't just that we lost the ballot measure. We lost each other. You know, we lost our way. And we had to go back inside as an organization and figure out who we were again. And it was out of that reflection that came Books Not Bars and the fight to stop the super jail.